Hey there, Foundations of Social Studies. It's me, Mr. Lambright. This is a quick video I'm making of the slides I showed today in class on Monday, September 14th. This is for if you missed class today or if you just want a recap of the things I went over about latitude and longitude. So latitude and longitude are how we create a grid over the surface of the Earth to tell where we are in relation to other things. It's particularly important for travelers on the ocean who aren't able to see land and know where they are in relationship to the land. So if you imagine a grid across the Earth is a sphere, so we can't have a perfect grid. We have to have the lines contour slightly, which means curve a little bit, so that we can create a solid grid that is evenly spaced. So latitudinal lines are parallel lines around the Earth. They go around like a belt. Right? They go around like this. If we were looking at a traditional map with north at the top, south at the bottom, and then east and west, latitudinal lines are running across. I like to think of latitude, flatitude. Latitude. There's a little example. It cuts the Earth. If the Earth was a melon, it would cut it into equal chunks. This is the best way to cut a watermelon. You cut it right down the middle, and then you turn the chunk on its side, and then you can cut chunks like that for what it's worth. Longitudinal lines are more like orange slices. So they originate and end at the poles. So at the poles, they're very close together, but then when they're farthest apart, right in the middle at the equator, they're farther apart. So they come out and they create kind of a wedge type slice. Again, as if you were cutting up an orange, you can pull out slices. Looking something like this. So again, they have a curvature to them. It's not a perfect grid. And the shape of each kind of square within the grid, as you get farther north or farther south, is going to change in size and shape. They're both organized by degrees. I'm not sure why. That's just what we say. So 0 degrees is the equator, right in the middle. Now, just like a graph in math, you can go up into positive territory or down into negative territory. So if you move south from the equator, you're looking at negative. Longitudinal lines start at kind of an arbitrary place. So the current system of measuring latitude and longitude that was established by colonial powers was kind of set out from their source of origin, a colonial power, which was England. So people that kind of established it, they decided to make the 0 longitudinal line right where they were. It's called the prime meridian. And they just walked out of their observatory and they said, we'll make it right here. More on that in a second. So as you can see, the latitudinal lines go across, right? So you have 0, and just like on a graph, if you move down, you're moving into negative latitude, and if you go north, you're going into positive latitude. So, for example, 30 degrees latitude up here is the same distance as negative 30 degrees latitude from the equator. Longitudinal lines don't go all the way around. They just are these slices, just like this. So if you go to the opposite side from the prime meridian, you're halfway around the circle, 180 degrees. All the way back again would be 360. A couple examples of latitudinal lines historically. When it comes to partitioning countries, oftentimes the kind of compromise point to partition countries comes as a latitudinal line. For example, at the end of the Korean War, it was established by the major powers that they said, why don't we just decide to split it around the 38th parallel? It's a nice round number, and it's about right in the middle of the country. So that's what they did. Obviously, they didn't go right along the parallel. The DMZ, militarized zone, goes kind of in this wavy format, but that's about the starting point. The same thing happened at the end of what is known here in the United States as the Vietnam War. The decision to partition before the United States involvement that we think of now as the Vietnam War was done at the 17th parallel. Now, today, this is all considered one country of Vietnam because the North successfully invaded the South. But at the time, it was decided to be done along the 17th parallel. The prime meridian is different. Again, it is one line that demarcates kind of the center of the map. And again, because it was a colonial power that established it, they decided to put themselves right at the center of the map. And that is how we get the traditional model with England right in the middle. In fact, if you go to their observatory, it's a historic place. And so now they have this kind of odd looking art form, and there's a literal line drawn right down there. So if you want to stand at 0 degrees,